What happens if you bet after the closing line is set? Have you ever wondered what it means to place a bet after the closing line is set? This is a common question among sports betting enthusiasts. Let's break it down step by step. In sports betting, the closing line refers to the final odds or point spread offered by sportsbooks just before the event begins. When you place a bet after this line is established, you are essentially accepting the last available odds. These odds are considered the most accurate reflection of the true probabilities of the event outcome. One important point to note is that you cannot beat the closing line. The closing line is typically viewed as the sharpest market price. Professional bettors aim to place their bets before the line moves to gain an advantage. By betting after the closing line, you are accepting the market's final assessment, which means you are unlikely to have an edge over the sportsbooks. Another aspect to consider is that you miss out on the benefits of line movement. Early bettors often secure better odds because lines can shift as new information or betting action comes in. Betting after the closing line means you lose the chance to capitalize on any favorable changes in the odds. Additionally, there is a concept known as closing line value. This metric measures whether you received better odds than the closing line. If you bet after the closing line, your closing line value is zero by definition. This is not ideal for anyone looking to achieve long-term profitability in sports betting. The closing line incorporates all known factors, such as injuries, weather conditions, lineup changes, and betting volume. When you place a bet after it is set, you are wagering with all this information already factored into the odds. Sometimes, last-minute developments can cause the line to shift right before the game. If you bet after the closing line, you might be reacting to these changes. However, many sportsbooks do not allow bets after the official closing line, or the line you see is already the closing line itself. Moreover, cash-out options may be limited or unavailable after the closing line is set. This means your bet will remain as is until the event concludes, without the flexibility to cash out early. For bettors aiming for long-term success, it is generally best to place bets before the closing line. This strategy helps secure better odds and positive closing line value. Betting after the closing line usually means accepting the market consensus without any advantage. In summary, betting after the closing line means you are placing a wager at the market's final and most accurate odds. This leaves little room for value or advantage, making it essential for successful sports bettors to act before the closing line is set.